Okay, hello and welcome back to how to get a 39 the fast, safe, and easy way. I'm Gil, and yeah, today I would like to discuss movement mechanics. Movement is pretty complex in this game, and I want to just make sure we all have a baseline understanding of the movement and what it does and how to use it. It'll also be assumed in future videos that you have watched this one and understand what I'm getting at. With that, let us discuss the mechanics. So the first one and most important mechanic of the game is right here, rolling. Rolling is the fastest form of movement in the game, and you want to be doing it as much as possible. Something to keep in mind is that if you were to just roll and kind of just let it rip, you will get what we call a dead roll. So to prevent that, you want to jump out of the rolls as late as possible. There's a bunch of different ways to time this. What I personally do is I look at the whites of Diddy's eyes. Like when he's running, they're facing forward, but when he does his cartwheel, they start to turn. But then when his eyes face forward again, that means his roll is completed. So yeah, that's what I use. The more you play this game, the more you'll just kind of develop a rhythm for it, but yeah, that's what I use as a visual cue. It is also to be said that rolling through enemies both makes you go faster and makes it so that you do not have a dead roll at the very end of your roll. Next up, let us talk about the differences between the Kongs. So there are two Kongs in this game, and they control very differently. So Diddy runs faster, rolls faster, and jumps higher. He just does. For those reasons, we want to be using Diddy most of the time. Dixie, while she does roll slower, run slower, and jump less high, she has this, the hover. And the hover is very, very useful, as we will learn. So, yeah, just do not be afraid of Dixie, but do know that she does have her weaknesses. We will also be using Dixie to fight every boss except K. Rool, because she has a much shorter fanfare. It's like 4.5 seconds faster than Diddy's, and that is pretty penny of time. Yeah, so that's that. Next thing I want to cover is something that I did not understand for a very long time, and that is that for both Kongs, Diddy and Dixie, running and jumping is the same exact speed. I used to think that running was faster than jumping. It is not. It is the exact same speed. That's why jumping out of rolls is fairly negligible, because what you'd be doing if you weren't rolling running, that's just as fast as this jumping. It's also true with Dixie that her jump and run speed are the same, but it's also true that her hover is the same speed as both of those. So yeah, all those are the same speed. You do not have to try and get the longest running and the shortest flutter. That's something that I used to do a lot. no need. They're all the same speed. Next thing is buffering inputs. So if you buffer, or well, rather, if you input a jump or a roll right before you land on the ground, you will do it the first frame possible. That is very nice. Like, what's better than being frame perfect? Being frame perfect without even trying. Wow, man. The same is also true of Dixie's hover. If you were to release and repress Y like that while she's still jumping up, you will get the hover on the first possible frame. We'll be using that a couple of times, but it is just good to keep that in mind. Something to keep in mind about buffering as well is that a buffered roll will send you at a much steeper angle than a regular roll will. So, like here, buffered roll, or it doesn't even make it all the way down. Like, it just dies right there. A non-buffered roll, like it all the way down, like rolling at the same place. Like, that is a dramatic difference. That is something to keep in mind, and that can and will get you in trouble in a couple of certain places. But yeah, most of the time you do want to be buffering your inputs as much and as often as you can. The last thing I want to discuss is moonwalks. So moonwalks are pretty uncommon, but they look super cool. The way that you do a moonwalk is that as you're jumping, you face the other direction, and then as you land on the ground, you push forward. Like so. We do this to manip enemy spawns, to get them to show up in the right places when we want them, to maximize our roll distance typically. But yeah, it's a fairly uncommon mechanic, but it's something you want to keep in mind. You can also do a moonwalk out of a crouch. We'll be doing that a couple of times as well. Same deal, just face the opposite direction and push forward. Roll as soon as you can. Okay, so with that covers the mechanics that I wanted to cover. I will be discussing the animal buddies and their mechanics when we encounter them. So yeah, that is for another time. But with that is the video. Thank you, watch, and see you in the next video. Roll deep.